And
it always does it. I don't know what is going on here. I'm having difficulties right off the bat, people. Oh my gosh, I'm having difficulties. It's okay. It's okay, because why? I got my new green screen. It's right down there, and I have to put it up later. So it just came about an hour ago. But anyways, thanks for coming in. This is another edition of Flat Earth Friday. This project has been going on since October of 23. So it's been going on for quite a while, and it'll continue to go on and go on and go on and go on until I exhaust it. But I don't think I will, because it's interesting information. Even though I've heard it and I've come to the realization that we do not live on a spinning ball, ladies and gentlemen. We do not. We do not live on a globe. There's no proof of it, and I'll show you yet another set of proofs here in this video. It is. I'll drop the link for you guys so you all have it. Make sure I actually do. Oops, pause that.
we're really glad that he has come out with it.
Pause that. Here we go. I want to get you a fresh link. I'll get you a fresh link in the chat here in a little bit. Anyways, because it is almost 3 hours, but we're not going to watch all of it. We're going to watch about an hour and a half of it, maybe first hour and 20 minutes, somewhere around there. And then I'm going to open up I believe if everything works out right, I'll have a guest tonight. And hopefully he'll be able to ask me some questions on this video that I played. So if not, we'll just have a nice conversation. And I saw a Conscious Abe that, if you're in the chat, it's just a link that shows up. So I had to go open it. And for every time that I've seen that meme, if the Earth was flat, why are the cats not knocking everything off? If I had a nickel every time I saw that meme, I've had like 25 cents. So, but anyways, I understand. It's just you're playing with me, you're poking, which is fine. I don't care. Um, but anyway, so we're gonna go ahead and watch this video, first hour and 20 minutes of it, and then we'll have a discussion on um, this topic here. And as soon as I get it back to 0, oh my, here we go. Hey, Polly, welcome in. Thanks for the shades, appreciate it. Latanya Keel, Latanya Keel. There it is, Latanya Keel. All right, flat Earth. Me like the flat Earth theory. To be honest, I know either way, but I like this theory. Okay, cool. Good. Well, I'm glad you're here because that's what I ultimately, if you don't believe it, that's fine. I can't force you to believe. I can't force my will upon you to believe something that you don't believe or you think is still a theory, which is fine. But I'm going to bring the information to you either way, and let you guys make the decision because you're all adults, you have discernment, and I believe that you're intelligent people. So you combine all those three together, and I think you'll come to a logical conclusion that we do not live on a spinning ball, a sphere. We don't live on a sphere. Okay, mathematically it doesn't work. But anyways, here we go. The first hour and 20 minutes of this film called 28 Pilots Confirming Flat Earth. And it's not 3 hours. Well, it is. It's 2 hours and 47 minutes, but we're only watching the first hour. So here we go.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good.
Hey, this is Jonathan, the flight instructor in Iowa.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, good. Hey, I just was calling in to check in with the previous caller, the guy that called in about the flying. I had to call in and make my comment on a couple things. Definitely can do a test with airplanes, and I'm definitely in for doing that. If anybody comes up with something they want to test, we've got access. We've got the airplanes to do it. I'd love to do something. So if you guys come up with any good tests, let me know. And we can definitely navigate without the GPS. Totally doable, not a problem. Yeah, 100 miles, 200 miles, whatever we need to do.
That's crazy. All right, then.
Dude, you're rich. You have private jet, I'm sure. Like, come on, let's do this. But
no, you don't need a big fancy jet. We can do it with a small airplane, and we could. Yeah, the cost wouldn't be hardly anything at all. We can work that out. And I'd be happy to do it. I think it'd be great to get a test out there. I've been thinking about doing it, but I just don't know exactly what to test on. I mean, I see it every day, so it's hard for me to I don't know what people want to see,
Where do you stand right now? You still believing in the globe, or do you think?
No. I just no. Both myself and my girlfriend are flight instructors, and we teach people to fly. And we were both just in the last 2 days. We both came back from separate flights with students, and we both came back. And we're like, it was a really clear day, and we both said to each other, wow, we can see so much that we should not be able to see. We can see wind farms that are 50 miles away that should be, if we did the math, it should be 500 feet below the horizon from where we were viewing them at. We're not up really high. We're only 1,000 feet off the ground, and we see it all the time. It's obvious, and our instrumentation stays level. So no, it's
amazing.
It's pretty clear to us.
I know. I want to go to Amazon and see if there's a gyro because that's
well,
huge.
that's our gyro that we have in the aircraft. I mean, it's there, it's working. It's just the problem is you can't get any information, and I've tried to track that down as well. I did a bunch of research trying to find how the gyros are made, what the internal component, and you cannot find anything out about them.
They're just perfect devices, and that's why they always show you exactly where you're at, but they don't take into account, hey, I should be upside down on the ball, or hey, I'm on sideways, or
exactly. Yeah, they have no correction for gravity or anything like that. They're independent. So
start here and come back here.
And I've gotten calls like crazy from other pilots. They'll call me, and I've talked with lots of other pilots, professional pilots, guys, airline guys that are retired out, and they all admit to it. They all say, yep. They said they've seen the same things, and they said the problem is you're never going to get a current airline guy to admit it because risk of losing their job. Yeah, I'm self-employed. I do my own thing. I'm not afraid to say what I want to say about it. But yeah, so I mean, we all believe it. All my friends that are pilots, they all agree on it. It's not the airline guys that are retired out, and they all admit to it. They all say, yep. They said they've seen the same things, And they said the problem is you're never going to get a current airline. We all believe it. All my friends that are pilots, they all agree on it. The airline guys that are retired out, and they all admit to it. They all say, yep, they said they've seen the same thing. And they said the problem is you're never going to get a current airline. We all believe it. All my friends that are pilots, they all agree on it.
Y luego, además, aquí aparece como si fuera, no sé cómo le llamamos a esto, un anexo, un añadido, algo que se cose.
Sí, exactamente, un parchecito, que me recuerda a una persona muy especial.
Explícate, si la Tierra desde las alturas se ve...
plana y estacionaria, se ve.
¿Plana? ¿Sí? ¿Y no tiene algo de achatamiento? ¿No se ve ¿no? Eso es cuando ya nos vamos a la órbita, ¿no?
La curvatura se ve cuando la cámara es de ojo de pez, como la que llevaba el que se tiró de Red Bull.
Sí.
Ahí sí que ves la curvatura, pero si la cámara es una cámara normal, se ve todo recto.
¿A cuántos permiten volar el máximo de altura?
Normalmente volamos a lo máximo, el techo del avión es 41.000 pies, que son 12 kilómetros, 800 metros o algo así.
Sí.
Pero normalmente volamos a 35, 37, que
¿Y a esa
son
altura no se ve
10...
la curvatura?
No, hombre, no, según... a ver, yo he volado con el Lear a 47.000 pies, con el Lear del jet privado, que son unos 13 kilómetros, 600 o algo así, y tampoco.
¿Tierra plana?
Sí, ¿por qué? Porque al margen de la forma geométrica de la Tierra, que puede ser un geoide, un globito o efectivamente plana y estacionaria, la tendencia de la Tierra plana es buscador de la verdad. Buscador de la verdad más allá de lo que me digan en Antena 3 o en Telecinco o en 4 o en la 1. Yo quiero saber qué hay detrás de quién paga la tinta, de quién paga esa iluminación,
amigo.
quién está detrás. Entonces, ellos no te lo van a decir nunca.
Claro.
Nunca te van a decir que han aprobado la nueva ley de seguridad nacional. Esto no te lo van a decir. Ellos no, en el cual, si el de Estado declara un estado de emergencia, pueden hacer su fruto de ti y de tus bienes, seguro. Si te lees el BOE todos los días, sí que lo vas a leer, pero hoy en día, muchachos, el BOE está complicado de que no lo leamos. No me leo el Marca, y eso que gana Nadal, voy a leer el BOE.
Cierto. Oye, por tanto, el baloncesto es una evasión.
Es una evasión, es un altavoz y es mi bebé. Yo lo cuido e intento cuidar el aspecto deportivo en el cual delego en mi director deportivo y en mi entrenador, el aspecto de gestión, y intento cuidar a mi bebé todo lo posible, desde el diseño de la camiseta hasta los aficionados que tenemos en Instagram, que es Basket Frater, el trato, nos piden camisetas para nuestros aficionados, etcétera, etcétera. Y todo a pulmón.
Yo creo que ya el hecho de haber creado el club ya es motivo de victoria.
Efectivamente. Sí.
Con 45 años, ¿cómo se mira el futuro?
Uy, es que yo tengo muy claro que hay que disfrutar de cada segundo ahora.
Es decir, estás en las alturas, o más allá de las alturas, pero con los pies muy bien puestos en el suelo, en la tierra.
Yo creo que
Por
sí.
eso la tierra es plana.
Y estacionaria. Y estacionaria.
Qué bueno.
Been a military brat all my life. However, I've been in the industry of aviation for the last 21 years. And I became an FE somewhere around 15 or 16 when I really started looking at conspiracies. I looked into Benghazi because I happen to work on government contracts abroad, overseas. But I've been in aviation for 21 years, anything from helicopters to aerostats to big birds, little birds, fighter jets, things with engines, no engines, big blades, little blades, compressor blades, which, by the way, that one's not a hoax. Jets do not run only on compressed air. Contrary to popular belief, it takes compressed air in a blended ratio of air to fuel to drive the now heated gas and rotate the compressor blades. This has been a topic of discussion between FE and, not everything's a hoax. Coriolis effect. With that ties into, obviously with no spin, around the axis points that they say exist at 23.4 conveniently, 66 off the 90 degrees, right? Everything ties into 666 with NASA and all the BS scientists. Our aircraft have things called ADIs, attitude direction indicator, which gives correlation between the aircraft housing or the shell around the gyro itself. The ADI is nothing more than a gyro that will always reference level. I don't care what any pilot says. I don't care what any mechanic tells you. You know, there's a reason that pilots have one book called a Pilot Operating Handbook, and there's every other book, right? From structures to avionics to wiring diagrams to the actual components that make up these systems. That is a standalone system. The ADI does not lie. I don't care how cold it is, how high you are, and some of these guys are pretty damn high. It doesn't matter where you're going. It doesn't matter where you've been. It doesn't matter where you are over the realm itself. As far as ADIs, in every aircraft, it references the level horizon or references sea level always. There's no way that you can convince somebody of sound mind that if you take off from New York and immediately flip upside down, now your housing or your ADI is referencing upside down to you because you're upside down. It's right side up. It cannot deviate off level. It doesn't matter how much fuel you got in your tanks. It doesn't matter if you're a helicopter or an aerostat or a fighter jet. That gauge will always reference level. It has to, because otherwise it would be a poor reference. And if you could manipulate it, why would you even have it in the airplane or your aircraft? But if you go and take off 2 miles away, do a barrel roll, you're now flying upside down. At what point does that gauge show you back right side up? A half a hemisphere away? Is that what we're led to believe? Is that what we're supposed to believe? At what point does it right itself if you never flipped back over and continue flying level? You see what I'm saying? It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous to think that thing compensates for curvature in straight and level flight. Interesting side note, I worked on aerostats for several years, and I always ask people who try to bring up gravity, well, how come my 4,000 pound, 74,000 cubic foot aerostat isn't getting pushed towards the ground? It weighs more than you do, which you believe gravity is pushing you down, right? Because these are some dense ass people. But how come the aerostat's not getting driven into the ground? It weighs more. It's definitely larger than the size of a house. It's more than size of most houses. So why isn't it getting driven to the ground? Well, that's because it's displacing less weight than the atmosphere or the medium that it's in. And I try explaining that. I don't know how many times you've probably posted something on this. I don't know how many times we're going to have to post something on this. But every time that little kid lets go of that helium balloon and starts crying. But truth be told, I've been to many countries, done many things, all things aviation. I can say with absolute certainty, and I can attest, the plane does not dip nose down to follow the curvature of the earth, ever. Matter of fact, most planes have an airfoil that are 3 degrees nose up in straight and level flight. And the reason that is simple. If the nose of the aircraft was at 0 degrees or level flying through the air, then it would porpoise, right? It would be quite violent because some of the air would go over the nose and some of the air would go under the nose. And it would cause that nose to go up and down, which is literally like a porpoise or a dolphin out of water. And that's exactly what would happen. So the wings are designed, when they are level, the nose is 3 degrees nose up. The fact, 3-dimensionally, it is 2-dimensionally. It is the amount of deviation that's required for you to come back inward. If you are walking east from north, meaning you are going around north equidistantly, and you walked in a straight line east 1 mile, you're going to have to deviate 8 inches back to the left to get back on the equator, right? Look at it on the flat earth map, and clearly it makes sense. If you walked 1 mile in a straight line east, you have to deviate 8 inches after each mile to stay on the equator. The 8 inches per mile squared is a real measurement, if in fact we consider the equator to be a real place, a real location, ever, always.
Is the Earth flat or spherical? It is flat.
The Earth is flat or no?
I know it's flat.
You know it's flat? How long have you been flying for, you said?
Over 30 years.
My name is William Andres Lozada. I am a commercial pilot. I make videos for the internet and this is one of the questions they most ask me on social media. Watch this video until the end to know the opinion of a commercial pilot about the flat earth theory. Today from beautiful Puerto Buenaventura, a city on the Pacific, I share my thoughts. I always questioned many things in life and always wanted to go beyond. I believe in the saying that goes like this: a lie repeated 1,000 times becomes reality. That's why I decided to hear the opinions and thoughts of millions on people who have interesting theories about flat earth. Even if you don't believe it, there are millions of people who do. Why is that the famous image of the blue marble has so many modifications in graphic design? Why don't they just take a photograph of the entire Earth from a satellite or something that is in space? Take a photo that shows how it really is. Why do they have to make corrections, graphic designs and CGI? The aircraft I fly can fly up to 25,000 feet altitude. I never saw any curve from up there. Also, as a passenger I fly at more than 35,000 feet altitude and I don't see any curve either. During the cruising phase I fly straight and level. I never dip down the nose of the aircraft to adjust for the curvature of the Earth. That's it. Okay? Here, never making any correction. Straight and level. The horizon always straight and level. Dipping the nose is not required at all.
¿La Tierra es plana o esférica? Es plana.
The Earth is flat or no?
I know it's flat.
You know it's flat? How long have you been flying for, you said?
Over 30 years.
Soy William Andrés Lozada, piloto comercial, hago videos para internet y esta es una de las preguntas que más me hacen en redes sociales. Quédense al final para ver la opinión de un piloto comercial acerca de la teoría de la Tierra plana. Hoy desde el bonito puerto de Buenaventura, una ciudad del Pacífico, he traído un pensamiento y es que siempre me he cuestionado muchas cosas en la vida y siempre he querido ir un poco más allá. Pues yo soy fiel a la frase que una mentira repetida 1000 veces se vuelve una verdad. Por eso he decidido escuchar las voces y pensamientos de millones de personas que tienen teorías interesantes acerca de la Tierra plana. Y aunque ustedes no lo crean, son millones de personas. ¿Por qué la famosa fotografía Blue Marble o la canica azul? ¿Por qué tiene correcciones de diseño gráfico? O sea, ¿por qué simplemente no le toman una fotografía desde un satélite o desde algo que haya ido al espacio, le toman una foto y nos la muestran? ¿Por qué tienen que hacerle correcciones de diseñadores gráficos o por computador? El avión que yo vuelo puede volar hasta 25,000 pies de altitud y yo nunca he visto la redondez de la Tierra desde ahí. Y también he estado como pasajero a más de 35,000 pies y tampoco he visto la redondez de la Tierra desde ahí. Cuando voy en fase de crucero, que voy recto y nivelado, nunca he tenido que corregir bajando el morro del avión para seguir la curvatura de la Tierra. ¿Esto por qué?
Ok. En ningún momento toca hacer la corrección a recto y nivelado. El horizonte en todo momento a recto y nivelado. Así, no toca hacer correcciones de nariz abajo.
My name is Joshua Silva. I am a licensed commercial pilot and flight instructor. I have had a lifelong love of aviation and aerospace. And when growing up, I even fancied myself an amateur astronomer. I would drag my family and friends, anybody I could, to every air show I could possibly find in Northern California. I was the only kid you knew, or anybody knew, that knew the various components on aircraft, spacecraft by heart. I absolutely loved anything to do with flying or space. But my love of aviation and aerospace never stopped. I continued studying, had an entire library full of aviation books of various military and civilian aircraft, military history, every aviation campaign and theater in almost any war. I studied religiously, and it was just out of pure passion. Later in life, many years later, I decided to become a pilot. As strange as it may sound, it hadn't occurred to me to become a pilot up to that point. I just simply loved aviation and aerospace, but I decided to become a pilot, and I began attending a prestigious flight academy in the Midwest and attending university at the same time, and to gain a degree in aeronautics and aerospace. Shortly thereafter, I began flying twin turboprop aircraft out of Northern California for several nonprofit organizations. And years after that, I found myself flight instructing for various small flight schools, both in California and in Arizona, and then on to large academies that trained for the airlines and even some military flights. Shortly thereafter, I began flying regional business jets, and that's when the story of me finding the topic of flat Earth started. Could the Earth actually be flat? I began to see opinions and arguments that seemed logical, but I heard several arguments, which I now know were most likely disinformation, easily disprovable in the aviation world, but there were some that stuck with me. And so, myself being the way I am, I ran quickly, metaphorically, to my old textbook, and I opened my old textbooks, found them, unpacked them, cracked them all open, and even downloaded brand new copies in PDF form offline of all these books to make sure that nothing had been changed. I thought for certain that I knew exactly what compensation pilots are trained while flying to compensate for the spin or the rotation of the Earth, for instance. As far as falling around a globe, I assumed in my mind would be an aircraft's angle of attack. But upon more study, I found that not to be true. The angle of attack being the angle between the aircraft's flight path and the relative wind, which is something that pilots are very familiar with. And it's the idea that an aircraft has to be slightly pitched up, essentially to stay airborne, or a surface of that aircraft has to be pitched slightly to create a difference in air pressure to hold the aircraft aloft. And that is assumed, or was assumed at that time by myself and other pilots, to be the compensation one would make for falling around a globe while flying, period. But upon further research, I found that this was not the case, and it was not even mentioned anywhere. This compensation was not mentioned anywhere I could find in any resource that I had gone to flight school with, and they were extensive. There were many, many books, especially as one progressed towards the commercial flying side, especially elective courses, especially if you're going to university, as I was, studying aerospace, then you would assume, and I had assumed, that this was calculated for.
Again,
the big one that is oftentimes quoted is compensation for Coriolis effect while flying. And this is something I'd even taught my students about, and it's always assumed to be correct. We just assume. We're given the narrative from a young age, and everything is built upon that assumption, upon that theory. And so I thought I had the silver bullet. Coriolis effect. We always calculate for that. Well, as I began to look through the books and to look into the calculations given for Coriolis effect, the narrative began to fall apart even further. I began to see things I didn't notice when I was in school, such as Coriolis effect is actually never calculated for, but is assumed to be a part of wind correction angle. Wind correction angle is one of the many calculations pilots of all kinds make while flying to correct against winds in whatever volume or section of air they're flying through, which it could be from any direction, and you're flying through it, so you have to compensate a certain angle into that wind to hold a straight line. And then the big one is given after that. Well, GPS auto corrects for it. And that sent me down yet another path. GPS auto corrects for it. If it's a satellite-based system, how is it correcting for spin if it's also spinning over the same body? And why are there large gaps in GPS coverage over large oceanic bodies? Do they just turn them off? It's just not worthwhile? There have been enough aviation accidents at sea, very far from shore, that would say otherwise. And if you gave the American taxpayers, the ones funding these satellites that are supposed to track aircraft, the information that, well, we're just shutting them off because it's not worthwhile. Those 3 or 4 jets full of hundreds of passengers just have to use other navigation methods such as dead reckoning, which is basically using a stopwatch and guessing to the next checkpoint, essentially. If you were to tell them that, they would be infuriated. So that could not be the case. Coverage was a problem. Even over large and non-densely populated areas, you would lose GPS coverage, even in jets at times. So this began to unravel the thread of satellites and satellite timing, and the fact that many reels of footage show these satellites being launched by balloon rather than by rockets. How the concept of these rockets doesn't even work to make it pass the atmosphere, much less leave something in perfect geosynchronous orbit. I actually had the privilege of working a short time at a satellite manufacturing company in Northern California. Got to see the assembly and participate in the assembly of satellites, base-based satellites, or so they were said. There would be small bottles encased in these structures that were encased by another structure. The small bottles were the fuel cells. These fuel cells were incredibly small, smaller than a diver's tank in most cases, much smaller. And this was supposed to be all the fuel that the craft needed to run and operate, as most are not actually electric. They're becoming electric now. And sustain itself in a perfect orbit by just small bursts from its engine or its propulsion system. The narrative began to fall apart. I would continue studying and finding that what I fear to be true is reality, that we have been lied to about just about everything. Upon researching military history and then military training and speaking with military gunners in both the Army and the Marine Corps that I know personally, I would ask them about Coriolis effect. And it was always assumed that, yeah, we compensate for the Earth being, a curve, that it would drop. We calculate for the Earth curvature. But even upon asking and having them look into their materials further and my own personal study, again, it found to be an assumed truth with no actual basis in reality, that they would calculate bullet fall based upon angular velocity, drop, friction, amongst other things. And curvature was supposed to be just corrected along with it, just like flying, wind correction angle corrected for Coriolis effect.
Pregunta controversial. Hay un debate ahora en YouTube especialmente en el que las personas se cuestionan que si la curvatura de la Tierra es observable o no es observable.
No, a las alturas que vuelan esos aviones.
Y usted no va haciendo ningún ajuste, va como si fuera parejito,
sí,
sobre terreno.
No, pero sí tiene unos 2 grados más alto que normal, depende de lo que del peso del avión.
Ok, la nariz va hacia arriba.
Sí.
Pero no tienen que buscar la curvatura. No, vuelan como si fuera sobre un plano.
Sí, es lo que pasa hacer el avión.
Bueno, muchas gracias.
Con mucho gusto.
Que siga bien.
Pues,
hasta luego.
Good afternoon.
Hey, John, how are you?
Pretty good, sir. How's everything there?
Everything's good. Can't complain. It's kind of windy out. Looks like it's going to rain. But anyhow, I'm hitting these questions regarding the flat Earth. Trying to get information out of me, and I'm not too familiar with the subject. Help me out.
Yes, sir. Copy that. I'll give you a couple of relatively quick examples that you can also research and elaborate as well. Number one, I'm a pilot, and when I used to fly out of Long Island towards Nantucket, bottom line here is they're going to give you some type of formula for every 100 miles. They're going to give you some type of XYZ per kilometer squared keep it very, very simple. Every 100 miles will be approximately 1 mile. 1 mile is 5,280 feet. The actual number is 6666, which is of Luciferian origin, which really reveals who's behind all the conspiracy and cover-ups, for everything. But the bottom line here is a very simple formula is for every 100 miles, you have 5,280 feet, which is 1 mile in curvature. So 100 miles equals 1 mile in curvature. Now, if I'm going, let's say, hypothetically, from Long Island to Nantucket, that's about a buck and a half. It's about 150 miles. So it should be a mile and a half. So let's just take a mile. So with aviation, you fly at certain altitudes, whether you're flying in a easterly, a northeasterly, to a southwesterly direction. So hypothetically, I'm flying easterly at hypothetically about 4,000 feet, which is an even number. If you add 5,000 feet of curvature, that would be around 9,480 feet, which does not exist. So the bottom line is pilots know every 100 miles that you travel, you would be dipping the nose down to compensate for 1 mile, which is 5,280 feet of curvature. So there's the proof right there that there's something very fishy with this globe Earth situation, because scientifically it doesn't matter. Also, there's a semi-classified naval communications device. When ships are communicating ship to ship on the ocean, U.S. Navy, semi-classified laser communication NAVCOM device, which also does data as well. So if they're communicating with ships 70 miles, 100 miles or more, like I said, every 100 miles is a mile of curvature. So it wouldn't work because lasers operate line of sight. They operate in a straight line. There's no curvature to the laser. So the bottom line here is the naval NAVCOM classified, semi-classified system that they use to communicate ship to ship, that operates on a laser. And if there was curvature, anything over, like I said, 100 miles is 5,280 feet of curvature, and the ship's diameter is nowhere near that, which you know. So there's another example, the naval NAVCOM communication device. Also, there's a woman, female KLH pilot, KLH Dutch commercial airlines. She got fired from her job a while back for questioning this issue. Now, they didn't throw her out of the company, but they gave her like a next job, so this way they kind of keep her around and quiet so they can control. But she's a very sane and rational woman. If they ask her, what happened, and she starts talking, it's going to raise serious questions. So we got the KLH pilot, we got the laser NAVCOM, U.S. Navy. We've got my personal experience flying from Long Island to Nantucket. There should be at least 5,280 feet of curvature added to the 4,000 altitude average while heading easterly. So there's something very wrong there. The numbers don't work. The Globers, definitely scientifically, we're looking at flat earthers have some very, very, very valid points according to those 3 examples. You got it, brother. Anything else?
That about answers my question. Quite a lot to take in. I've taken some notes. Thank you. Thank you again.
You're welcome, sir. Any questions? I'll be here for a while. Contact me anytime.
All right. God bless.
All the best. God bless.
How did you first get into flat Earth? How did you first start looking into it?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just since 2003, I was looking into the business because my son, he's now 13. He got very ill from the. He had a how do you call it? Brain.
Like
injury.
Yep, sure.
So that's how I got, onto the internet at 2003, and I was reading about a lot and figuring things out.
How long have you been in the airline industry?
Actually, I got my license in '91. So I've been with the company that I'm at now, which is actually the best in in Holland there are not so many, but
Right.
they're a very good company, and I'm with them for 22 years now. Yeah.
And then started going down conspiracy, saw a couple things that had to do with flat Earth and gyroscopes, and thought, this is sort of interesting.
Yeah.
So did you start poking around inside your company? Did you
Yes,
were there
that's what I did.
friends of
Yeah,
yours?
so I was just, because, there are lots of things that we are taught about, the spinning Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And I told to my colleagues, because of course you think about it, but then you just discard it, about how it is possible that the atmosphere spins with the globe.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course, well, that might be gravity. And then it says, well, then you have to, it has to spin faster at a higher altitude, because there's no gradual difference.
Right.
So I thought, well, that's kind of strange. And also the speed at which the Earth should spin around the equator, I thought, well, that's almost the speed of sound. So that's kind of strange. And then also when you fly, let's say, from Johannesburg to Amsterdam,
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to account for the difference, and also not because it spins then at a different rate, and it doesn't also, we don't also have to account for the difference in altitude that it spins. So
yeah.
I thought, this is so strange. And now, actually, I told the other day to a stewardess, because she has an open mind, and now I have to work on the ground. I said, well, actually, I'm a little bit ashamed of, believing all this shit, and I should have, questioned before, because my IQ isn't actually good enough to, question how does a gyroscope work, actually, because it does not, measure the gravity.
Everybody in the flat Earth community has had to relearn a lot of scientific premises just so we could catch up and then tear it down. And gyroscopes is one of them. Actually, gyroscopes helped us a whole bunch. I didn't know how gyroscopes. I mean, we've seen, of course, and we we spin things around and we kind of get the feel for them. But how they relate to the Earth spinning, most people don't know. So anyway, sorry, continue, please. So you were looking into the gyroscopes, and then what?
Yeah, and then of course I also saw the movies from Eric Dubé about Rising Horizon. Horizon.
Yep.
And I thought, well, yeah, that's true. And we do fly at 40,000 feet, 41,000 feet sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, I've been. This is now almost a year going on that I was, that I started looking for the curve, let's say.
Yeah.
And of course, I couldn't find it, and I saw the horizon, rising with us, and it was flat wherever I looked, and I thought, well, shit, why did I didn't see this before? And then I started questioning in the cockpit, do you know that the atmosphere spins at the same speed as the sound, the speed of sound at the equator? And then I get this strange look on their faces, whenever I would ask something like that. But it bothered me so much that I thought, well, this has to, go out there. And I thought, well, you can just discuss these things, but obviously not. We were with the three of us in the cockpit, and the captain, he was in training, and the instructor was on the jump seat. And we had a night stop in Zurich. And the last day that we actually flew from Zurich to Amsterdam, they said, well, did you actually mean those things that you said about flat Earth and everything? I said, yes, I do. And they say, well, we think you are retarded. And
they didn't actually say that, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and you are, how do you call that? Labiel. I don't know what that is in English, actually. But it's like you are mentally unstable.
Oh, no, that's
like
pretty, yeah. So you're kind of, so who said this to you?
That actually said the instructor said that to me. He said,
Really?
well, actually, yeah, because I did not go out to dinner with them because I could already, sense that there was no match between the three of us.
Right.
So I did not go out with dinner with them at the night stop. And he said, well, we had a discussion between the two of us about you. And we think you are, retarded, but then the Dutch word for that, and mentally unstable. So I said, well, if you think like that, and we only had like 20 minutes left or so, I suggest that you come sit in my seat, because I knew he was, an instructor, and he could sit in both seats, because you're as an instructor, you need to be able to, sit in both seats. So I said, well, you better sit here, because I'm not going to fly any longer with you guys.
So what happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So they landed, and I sit in the jump seat. And I said, well, guys, we really get a lot of training with our company about how to communicate amongst each other, because lots of errors happen when the communication in the cockpit is not working out. So we get a lot of training about that. I said, well, guys, all the things that we discussed yesterday, because I don't know how the topic came up, but we discussed about those trainings, about the things we shouldn't do. You both did. Like, we call that OMA. The O is for oordelen, that is to judge. The M is for mening, that's opinion, an opinion. And A is for aanname, and that means to assume. So I said, well, those things you both did without even questioning me. You just,
Their natural reaction was to think it's like, flat Earth is ridiculous, so we're going to judge you right here and right now.
Yeah. So I did not even have, you did not even ask me one question. Like, I mean, I was educated the way you were. I mean, but you could have asked me, well, Lydia, how do you come to such a strange viewpoint or whatever? You could have asked me some question instead of just throwing me out. And well, the instructor said, well, I'm sorry about that. And actually, he got tears in his eyes, so I was a little moved by that, because I thought, well, yeah, okay. I came on quite strong, actually, because, well, I was mad, of course. And he also was relieved, because I said, well, when I stepped out of my seat, I said, well, I will see you in the office, I guess. Because I assume, because we have to write about these things, if things like this happen, I thought, well, he's an instructor, he's going to write about this. So I thought, well,
and when you mean write about it, you mean our term would be like filing a report.
File a report.
So at this point, you're thinking of filing a report against your co-pilots, your fellow pilots for.
Well, he thought I was going to do that, because that's what I said when I stepped out of my seat earlier. I said, well, I think I'm going to see you then in the office.
Yeah.
Because I assumed, because he's the instructor, that he would, he was the one who was, trashing me. So I thought, well, he will probably write about it. So after the landing, I said, well, he asked, he was scared. He said, are you going to write about it? I said, well, no, I'm not going to write about it, but I'm going to go straight to the doctor's office from the company, and I'm going to ask for some support in this. So he was really relieved. Well, I'm not going to write about it either. I said, well, do whatever you please. So
both of you mutually agreed not to file a report on each other about an argument that had to do with flat Earth. Probably a good thing at the time.
Yeah.
So then you went to the company physician, the company doctor, and you have more or less did you request to them? You said, look, I don't think I should fly anymore because I don't believe the Earth is a globe.
Well, actually, I called in sick.
Okay.
And I made an appointment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to the doctor because I thought, well, I have all the evidence there is. So he said he didn't even, because I started to explain to him how I got to the point of thinking flat Earth, because, it needs a little bit of an introduction, I guess.
Oh yeah, you can't just come out and say it. Be like,
no,
you mean like metaphorically, or what are we talking about here? So his response was,
okay, Lydia, I'm gonna send you to the psychiatrist.
Yep, I was waiting for that.
Yeah, I will hold your medical license, and you cannot fly for now.
So technically, are you still working for the company?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still working.
Have you been? You haven't been suspended without pay or anything like that?
No. That's not the thing they would,
But did you request that you didn't want to fly anymore, or did they say you shouldn't fly anymore? And I mean, obviously, you're not flying at the moment.
No. I said I cannot fly at this moment because I'm tired of all the lying.
Okay.
And I'm just exhausted, and I'm, I feel humiliated and everything, and I think we should look into this. I mean, I'm
and when was this? When was it?
All in this, but they just don't. They're not open-minded.
Oh, hey, look, pilots it's a tough. I mean, I've talked to a handful of pilots already, but this is got to be one of my favorite stories because, well, and sorry, I got to back up a little bit. When did this happen?
This happened in March.
Okay, this happened in March. And after that, did you see a psychiatrist? The company psychiatrist?
Yeah, I had to. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And?
They made me. So I went. I had to go 2 times.
Okay.
And the first time, the psychiatrist explained that I had a right, a recht van aanhouden, and that means that you don't, you get the last say in whether the report goes to your company or not.
Oh, I got it. You get the closing remarks. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can send I can read the report, and if I'm not,
happy with it.
Yeah, happy with it, then I can say, well, no, don't send it.
Oh, really? That's way more flexible than what we have over here. Seriously, a psychiatrist could literally put you in a jacket and lock you in a room, and you wouldn't have much of an opinion. But anyway, so go ahead.
So I sat there and I want to, explain a little bit how I came where I am, and he was not interested. He said, well, no, I don't want to hear all those things. I just want you because, with my son and everything, it's kind of a long story, but, I wanted to explain to him how I got where I am, and he just was not interested. He said, well, Lydia, you are being a little bit naive in, trying to convince this guy. Why aren't men a little bit more courageous? I think I'm always more courageous than everybody I meet. It's just, I don't know. I don't understand. Maybe I'm not that, I just moved to a real nice house and everything, and I thought, well, I might have to say goodbye to this within a year because I don't know what's going to happen.
Sure.
But okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, who cares?
You are a brave person, Lydia. There's a lot of people that wouldn't have. But at the same time, you're in a unique position because pilots, they deal with that perspective all the time. Most pilots don't know what to do with the information even when they get it because of their conditioning. So yeah, when you're in the cockpit at 40,000 feet, you see a flat horizon. You see it every single day you fly. But there's this weird conflict that happens. It's like, well, it's a globe because I'm told it's a globe, but I only see flat. So you know what? I'm just going to land the plane and try to live my life as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. So you went to the psychiatrist a couple times. Did you like the report he wrote, or did you not?
Well, the second time that I went, he said, "Well, Lydia, you don't even have to start talking because I'm not interested. I think you know where this is going."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Well, yeah." He said, "Well, I will. I think it's called delusional or something like that in English. We have another name for that in Dutch."
Mm-hmm.
So I said, "Well, okay." I said, "You didn't even have a glance at anything I'm here for," and nope. He said, "Well, nope. I am aware of conspiracy theories," he said, and he said that chuckling, so he was laughing, and I thought, okay, well, whatever. So I was actually pissed, and I went home, and while I was in the train, because it was a train ride of about 2 hours, I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna even wait for the report, because what's going to be in there? Nothing that I need to know.
Right.
So I emailed him right away when I got home. I said, "Well, dear Mr. Huppel de Pup, I don't need your report. Don't even bother writing it, because I'm gonna,
You're going to veto it, basically. So then what? So you go back to work? So at that point?
No, because they have my medical license, on hold or whatever.
So technically, you're on medical. We call it medical leave. So you're currently, at that time, you were on the ground, not getting up in a plane again because they said there's a medical issue.
Yeah, correct. Okay. That's still the case. And now I'm working on the ground because they say, well, okay, you cannot go into the cockpit, but I think you can do some other work. You should not. Can you just cut that one out, because I don't want the company name.
Got it. I will not say your company name. I'll cut that little part out.
Yeah.
So they grounded you, but they didn't want to fire you.
Yeah, that's not the way they go about. They just don't fire you like that. I mean.
So you haven't flown since March.
Correct.
Do you have any anticipation that you will be flying?
I don't think so.
Now, is that a voluntary thing? Have you been pushing it, or are you like happy with your desk job and you're like, I'll just take the desk job for now?
Well, I found a job where I can meet all kinds of people, but colleagues, and they asked me, why are you not flying? So now I have an opportunity to say, well, I have different beliefs than most people, So actually, I'm figuring things out, and actually, I want to wear T-shirts, with flappers on it, and just to go to my ground job and spread the word.
Wow, you are one of the bravest people I have ever met. I mean that. That's amazing. So now, because you're grounded, you're now doing the ground jobs in the airline industry. People ask you, because once they figure out who you are, it's like, wait, why aren't you flying? You tell them. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not flying because of, and you probably describe what's happened to you over the last 6 months.
Well, I've just started like 4 weeks ago. So I only have to come in 2 times a week because I work 50%, so I don't have to go there very often.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to meet my colleagues there, and get to know them. But I just started. So the last time I was there, I said that I believed that, and the moon landings were fake. And actually, there are 2 other pilots also, which have some issue why they have to work on the ground because there's something medical, and they laughed at me.
Oh, I can imagine they would laugh at you.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to ask you some pointed questions here. Like, one, if all of a sudden they came back and they were desperate, they needed a pilot, would you jump back in, or is this something it's like, yeah, you know what, it doesn't really mean much to me anymore?
No, it actually didn't mean a lot to me anymore already for a couple of years. And that had to do with also the fact that I'm a woman in a man's world. And
got it.
Yeah. Sometimes you just think, well, if yeah, I'm really open-minded. I mean, that's why I got into this in the first place. But also, when you are working with people who are totally not, there is hardly any connection,
Right.
and I miss that. So I actually have more fun with the stewardesses when when we are somewhere
Nice.
than with my colleagues in the cockpit. So
Nice.
yeah, so I don't really miss it. The other day it was really windy. I thought, well, now I miss it because, yeah, then you can practice your skills a little bit and do some real flying, and that's the part that I miss. But the whole life around it, I don't miss. No.
So I wait a minute. So do pilots secretly like bad weather, or is this just you? Because wind scares the hell out of people. Just so you know.
I know.
But
Yeah,
you thought it was fine because
when it's not too bad, yeah.
Because
we do like that. Yeah, I'm sorry.
what part? The landing on a windy runway type thing?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
because it's a challenge. You were just bored. It's like, oh come on.
Yeah, that's true.
Normal landings are so boring that pilots just kind of hope for something, like an icy runway. Hey, is there some ice on the wings?
No ice. No.
No, not ice, but wind.
That's so tricky. The wind is okay. Yeah.
Yeah, but you wouldn't deliberately try to fly through some dark clouds or anything.
No, it's not like that. It's not like courageous in that way. No, that's not the way to go. No. We're very careful. I'm a very careful person. My children always say, "Well, Mom, you drive like a snail. Come on, hit the gas."
I can see that. So when you see like a 20-mile-an-hour crosswind coming in on the runway, you're like, "Ooh, yeah, buckle up. This is going to be fun."
20 is nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even hardly anything.
I'm sorry. I did a lot of business travel, so now that I know this is good. This is good stuff. Here, so you've been in Flat Earth now for what? Less than a year officially?
Yeah, less than a year.
Less than a year.
November. Yeah.
And you've watched a whole ton of videos and read a whole bunch of web pages.
Yeah.
Is there and you probably talk, I mean, it doesn't sound obviously like you're shy about talking about this with people. For you as a pilot, or in this case a grounded pilot, but you flew for a lot of years. What was the biggest thing for you? Because everybody, I could talk to 20 different flat Earth community members and they'd all have a different answer to this, which is, what is the one thing that flipped in your head where you were half asleep on the couch? It's like, holy smokes, that's it.
The gyroscopes. It's just the gyroscopes, because I thought, well, it cannot work on a globe. No,
can't. Because
and also the speed of sound at the equator. Those two things that.
So the the spinning of the Earth, the atmosphere going along with basically the Coriolis effect. You're not adjusting the flight path for the Coriolis effect, and you guys are going from north to south a lot. Yeah. And in fact, you were saying you were flying to Johannesburg from the Netherlands?
Well, before I flew the 737, I flew the MD-11. So then we went to Kenya, not to Johannesburg. That was just an example that I gave you, but I've never been there.
But Kenya's fine. That'll work.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle of Africa, you guys are flying from the Netherlands, and not only did you not have to, because that's a question. In fact, I might as well ask you this, since we have a hard time asking pilots. There's a whole bunch of videos out there where people are trying to ask pilots. When you know how the gyroscope works, and you know how the curvature of the Earth works. So from a pilot standpoint, do you ever see any instruments, or do you have to set anything in the cockpit that constantly adjusts for the 8 inches per mile squared, or every 50 miles you would have to adjust about 1,700 feet?
No, nothing.
Never. No,
never. The only thing is that I was thinking about, but I also saw that I cannot find it anymore. That's really a pity. But we have this inertial reference system, and it has like really advanced gyros, the laser ring gyros, and it has accelerometers on it. And you can, when something goes wrong with that system, you can reset it and you can have the heading back.
Yeah.
And but then again, I saw this this video on YouTube that a guy asked the company, I think it was Honeywell or something, about resetting and putting the right coordinates in. And this guy said, well, it doesn't really matter. Don't put anything.
Yeah. In fact, I know that one because that was a 777 pilot. I read that one. That was me.
Okay.
Where the 777 pilot.
Okay, so I saw it with you. Yeah.
Yeah. He messaged me and he said the gyroscope compensator that's below the gyroscope is made by a particular company, and this company supplies everybody, and it's a NASA subcontractor. And he went to an airport and it broke, because pieces break every once in a while, and it broke, and they asked for he asked for a replacement before he could take off, and they said, you know what, just compensate for it manually. And just because he knew what about flat Earth, he decided to ignore that and just make note of it. And when he was flying, and it basically took a 6-hour trip, and he never had to. And yeah, he took notes of what the degree should be, but he never compensated for it. And so then he was going, okay, what does this thing actually do? If I didn't have to, I just flew 6 hours and it wasn't even working. And when he tried to, the thing that got me was when he called the company, they, pilots, as you may know, are considered very, very wonderful people in the airline industry. So they can go to airline companies. They could walk into Boeing, and Boeing is like, let's give you the tour. They wouldn't even talk to this guy. They were like, it was like very, very close-lipped about what these gyroscope compensators would even do. And so, and this is a 777 guy that really wanted to. He's still flying, but he's going, I don't know what's going on out there, but there are companies involved that they may not know exactly what's happening, but they're up to no good. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Wow. So let me ask you a couple of other quick questions, and then you can ask whatever you want, which is just for the record, when you were looking out through the cockpit, before you got into flat Earth, did you even think about the curve, or was it just one of those things that was in the back of your head? And then when you found out about flat Earth, did you look out the window differently?
Actually, I never thought about the curve. Never. Maybe that's strange, but I really
no.
did.
Why would you, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Now I think it's strange, but
but then when you got into it, when you were looking out the window, did it look completely different to you? It was like, holy smokes!
Yeah. Then I saw how flat it was.
Couldn't see. We have a saying here. I don't know if it's the same over there, which is you couldn't see the forest for the trees. You just could not. It was like, didn't even occur to you. You looked out that window all the time for 20-something years.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, by the way, you think it's flat out there? You see it's flat? It is flat.
Hola, mi nombre es Héctor Requena. Soy terraplanista desde el 2016. Este tema lo descubrí accidentalmente, me agradó mucho y desde ahí lo empecé a investigar. Desde ahí me di cuenta de lo que está pasando en el mundo. Yo fui aviador, me gusta más la palabra aviador que piloto. Yo volé con mi papá desde niño, él era piloto de la Fuerza Aérea Mexicana. Un tema muy curioso que me pasó a mí fue el empezar a conocer cómo funciona el giroscopio. El giroscopio está diseñado para volar sobre un terreno plano y una tierra que no se mueve. Todos estos temas me llevaron a seguir investigando. Estamos tratando de invitar a la gente a que no se cierre de mente a estos temas, ya que si no nos damos cuenta de lo que está pasando ahorita es por lo mismo, porque la gente está cerrada, se cierra a pensar fuera de la caja. Yo invito a la gente a que por lo menos sea poco más abierta de mente hacia estos temas, porque la verdad es que esto está muy fuerte. Se vienen tiempos muy difíciles ahorita y debemos de estar conscientes de que el sistema nos está manipulando de una manera muy, muy grande. Entonces, pues, vamos a ver qué pasa.
I woke up to the truth of the flat earth, shape of the earth, as an engineer and a pilot. So I've studied engineering, physics, 3 different ways: basic physics, electric physics, and construction physics. And also as a pilot, as a rotary wing pilot, that is helicopter pilot, I studied aeronautical physics as well. So I can cover and discuss just about any factor of flat earth. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody else, but I've studied quite a bit of factors that analyze shape and motion of just about any object. That's physics, also aeronautical physics, and principles of flight. I can tell you this: airplanes fly straight and level. That's even an aviation term, straight and level. Airplanes will fly for hours at the same altitude, never dipping their nose down to follow the curve of the earth. An aircraft on a 12-hour or even 18-hour flight from Portland, Oregon to Seoul, Korea, that would have that aircraft starting at one point and then flying so far around the earth that it's flying downwards with its nose vertically downwards, and then starting to go around the curve of the earth so that the airplane is now flying upside down. Would have to make that kind of a flight path on a globe, which is, it's such an absurdity. So that being said, I come into the true shape of the earth, the flat earth, as a skeptic, like most anyone else. I'll tell you my story. My buddy told me about this. He said, Rob, you need to learn about the ice ring. You need to learn that the earth doesn't move. This globe is garbage. And I laughed at him. I said, are you kidding me? I'm not even going to look into that. He said, that's fine. He said, that's fine. You don't have to look into flat earth. But until you do, he said, until you do look into flat earth, you will remain a slave of the matrix. And interestingly enough, at this point, this was more or less November, December 2015. I had already mentally resigned from the U.S. military for 3 years. I had already resigned because of Benghazi. I realized, and I saw for myself, I'd been working with U.S. as an Army officer, working for State Department for a good 10 years. And so what I did, I turned my physics awareness, I turned my studies into analysis of the shape of the earth. Radar is simply another form of radio transmission. Radio includes anything within the range of the electromagnetic spectrum. Electromagnetic spectrum, also known as light. Radio is a transmission of light, whether it's visible light or radio waves which are not visible. When it comes to radio transmissions, there must be a transmitter and a receiver. There can be a reflector or a transmittal unit along the way. However, in the end, there's got to be at least transmitter and a receiver. And in the case of radar, radar transmits a signal and it bounces off a reflector, and then it comes back to the receiving station. Or it can go to other stations if they're set up in the network properly. Long story short, radar emits a signal, it bounces off something, and then it returns to a receiving unit, and the receiving unit maps that reflection accordingly. If there is no reflector, then there's no return signal, and then the object does not show up on the radar. For example, it's off the screen. Notice there's no curving around anything. It goes out in a straight line. Radio signals always travel in a straight line. So the transmitter sends the signal out to the target, bounces off, and it comes back in a straight line. Radar cannot travel over the curve, and hence radar is dependent on line of sight, direct beam from the transmission to the target, It reflects and it comes straight back. There is no curving around anything, thus is radar. The fact proven from multiple points that there is no Coriolis to the motion of the Earth. And I'm speaking from a pilot's perspective, also an engineer's perspective, because I obtained a degree as an engineer before I went to flight school. So I'm both a pilot and engineer at once. So number one, there is no rotation of the Earth, proven by the fact that a helicopter pilot can hover the aircraft indefinitely, motionless, above a single point of the Earth. If the Earth were spinning, as soon as that aircraft left the ground, the Earth would spin out from under it. Now, somebody may say that the air of the atmosphere rotates along with the Earth, which is one of the most absurd concepts imaginable, because if that were the case, then all wind would travel with the Earth. There would be no alternating wind currents when we know that the jet streams fly overhead, clouds move in multiple directions overhead, and a kite flying over the stationary Earth. The fact that a kite flies because of wind passing through, that proves that the Earth does not. That proves that the air does not move in unison with the Earth. Number two, airstrips do not rotate away from a landing aircraft. Anybody who's seen a pilot's view when an aircraft lands, well, the aircraft lands to a motionless airstrip. If the Earth were rotating, the pilot would have to turn to the angle at which the airstrip is rotating away and land at the speed of the airstrip, which is absurd, simply absurd. Airstrips do not rotate away from the aircraft, and on an east to west landing strip, if the aircraft is landing to the west, the airstrips do not land moving towards the airplane. That's insanity. Okay, simply stated. I've done many of them personally. I've flown more than 1,070 hours in both helicopters and airplanes, and I will tell you factually that aircraft meet their checkpoints, they take off, they meet their checkpoints, and they land exactly as planned on a flat stationary map. No pilot, I say again, no pilot has ever accommodated for the rotation of the Earth when planning flights and takeoff to checkpoints along the way, and then landing. Pilots can plan so well that they can take off and land hundreds of miles away down to within 30 seconds of their planning because the Earth simply does not rotate.
Yes, absolutely. Number one, there is a rate of descent. A rate of descent, and we can all imagine. These are simple concepts, and I'd like to reiterate that in all of my technical discussion, in any of our technical discussion, it needs go further than, meaning it doesn't, we need no more complexity than 10th grade science, 10th grade math, Pythagorean theorem, 10th grade physics, 10th grade chemistry, basic chemistry. This is chemistry 101, college level, 10th grade chemistry at the high school level. One can imagine if an aircraft is flying at elevation 35,000 feet, well, it has to descend to land on the ground. Well, it's still flying in the air. It's not going to point its nose straight down and go straight to the ground. No, it's got to gradually descend from altitude down to zero. Well, we call that rate of descent. A lot of people don't talk about this. Now, I'm bringing up a new topic to Flat Earth, and I'm really bringing up a new topic to the average pilot. The average pilot does not talk about rate of descent. And how do I know? Because I've talked with several pilots, and they cannot quote their rate of descent. Why do I know it? Because I memorized Army federal regulated rate of descent, which was 500 feet per minute. For 18 years, I memorized 500 feet per minute. That's for my first 2 years as an Army aviator, I memorized 500 feet per minute is the standard rate of descent. Well, that's for landing. Okay, let me reiterate. That's for landing to a full stop when the airplane wants to land to the ground and stop. That's 500 feet per minute. But we, in the Flat Earth community, we know that for an airplane to fly around the globe, the supposed globe that is, there's a rate of descent associated with 8 inches per mile squared. So if we do the math, the 8 inches per mile squared at the average assuming an average airspeed of 500 miles per hour or that's really a ground speed, but it's moving through the air at 500 miles an hour. Associate that with 8 inches per mile squared. Well, the math gives us the following: 2,777 feet per minute rate of descent for that airplane to follow the globe. Okay, and that is a continuous descent, not to land. That is a continuous descent while the aircraft is at altitude flying along.
Wow.
Well, let's compare that. Let's make the comparison now. 500 feet per minute to land the airplane to a full stop at an airport. On the globe, the airplane has to descend continuously at 2,777. That's more than 5 times the rate of descent for a landing, and that's a continuous descent. So I did some more math today, by the way, Vika. Thank you for asking. It's average 500 feet per minute. Okay, so I looked up gravity, 32 feet per second squared. Okay, that's the quote supposed gravity, right? If you drop something, it in a vacuum, okay, it falls at 32 feet per second squared. Well, let's convert that to feet per minute. That is 1,920 feet per minute. Okay, that's gravity. Now, let's remember, an airplane flying around the curve of the globe at 500 miles an hour must maintain a rate of descent of 2,777 feet per minute, which is almost 1,000 more feet per minute than something falling in free fall. That's absurd. That's the most absurd measurement we could have. So I'm bringing that to the flat Earth community. That's what the math gives us, Vika, and everybody else. Can we see the perspective here? The 8 inches per mile squared around the curve of the globe at 500 miles an hour, that's faster than free fall. That's more absurd than one can imagine. Vika, that is the simple math. That's high school math right there.
So, I've been intrigued, and I keep taking notes as you keep talking. That there's always this new. It's not new measurements. It's not new. Rate of descent is nothing new.
Standard.
But what people seem to forget is the globe model, the heliocentric model. That science and math is never used in a functioning application.
Exactly.
Never, ever.
Because it proves the fraud if they ever do.
Exactly. So kudos to you, and rate of descension just made my list of bullets in the gun.
That's a foundational effect of flat Earth, isn't it? It's a foundation.
Amen, brother. Amen. That and elevation angles, that and you triangulation, and I mean the list just keeps growing and growing and growing. Thank you. I don't want to take a lot of time here, but thank you, Rob.
Yep, and that's my point, Lon. That is exactly my point, and that's why I send out these messages to everybody in the group so everybody can see and understand. Anybody can do this math. Pilots don't know anything that's not normal. They have more experience with it, but just because they're a pilot doesn't mean they know something special. Anybody can do this math, and anybody that does this math and can explain it, well, they're smarter in this effect than the average pilot.
Amen.
Take it and run.
Amen. So I sat in that co-pilot seat for so many times, and had I known then what I know now, it just would have been a no-brainer. I know you bring a plane up to elevation, to your altitude. It's locked in, and you don't bring it down until your point of destination is arrived at. It's point A to point B. That's it, and there is no curvature. So, all right.
I don't know what to add after you guys. I'm so happy to be here. You guys are amazing. You know what I noticed that at 500 miles an hour, you move about 40 miles in 5 minutes, and I don't ever see any chemtrails with any sort of curve much to them.
Well
and
said.
they're always straight lines.
Yep.
So
guess what,
you
Gene?
can follow a plane for 5 minutes. That's a good amount of time. 40 miles are going to show something.
Gene,
never-
that's a prescient observation. Prescient, not precious, but a prescient, but precious as well. Guess what? My mother pointed out pointed that out to me this week.
I'm not sure I know what that word means.
My own mother pointed that out. So that's awesome.
I have a couple. The first comment by FE Patriots: at a speed of 500 miles per hour, the plane would fly at just over 8 miles per minute. Therefore, the rate of descent in the first minute from the starting position is just under 50 feet and then increases
exponentially.
Yeah.
31 miles at the end of the 500 miles of its flight from the starting position. So that averages about 2,800 feet of descent per minute.
Wow.
There you go. That's exactly my calculation. 2,777 around the globe. Exactly.
FE Patriot's pretty good. He's really
that's
good.
All fictitious.
Thank you for joining us too, FE.
Fictitious.
Yep.
It's a dreamland. The globe is from fairyland. Dreamland.
Non sequitur.
Hola, non sequitur.
Yes. And the fact that at no educational level, at zero educational level, is anyone ever taught the Earth curvature equation. You don't get it in preschool. You don't get it in elementary school. You don't get it in middle school. You don't get it in junior high, high school, university, undergraduate work, postgraduate work, doctoral work. You don't get it.
Talk about it
because it doesn't exist. The flat Earth, the curvature equation was created by people who were looking for the curve.
Yes, exactly.
But you know what equation they gave us that makes zero sense is E equals MC squared, and you can't apply it. Yeah. You can't apply that to anything in real life.
That's to support their myth of the nuclear bombs. That's all that was.
Yeah, and gravity.
Hocus pocus to cover hocus pocus.
That's their magic fairy dust.
Reference fairyland. We all know this.
That's right.
I looked up the quote by Tesla on Einstein.
Yeah.
And I'll just reiterate it here. So, because it was on the subject a couple minutes ago, Einstein's relativity work is a magnificent mathematical garb. This is heliocentrism as well. Right. Magnificent medical garb which fascinates, dazzles, and makes people blind to the underlying errors. The theory is like a beggar clothed in purple, whom ignorant people take for a king. Its exponents are brilliant men, but they are metaphysicists rather than scientists.
Wow. Well, there it is.
Yes,
one of my favorite quotes from Tesla. Absolutely, a great. They bounce from equation after equation until they get the answer they're trying to.
Yes. That's another part of
class understands anything.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the first part of the show there. I think you guys can hear me. Microphone's on. Hold on. Let me change my audio settings real quick. Cancellation. There we go. All right. It sounds a little better now. Okay, cool. So that is some word. That's about half the video right there. I will drop that link again. I'll find that right now, as a matter of fact, for yous. And I'll drop the link for you so you guys can actually watch the full video for yourself if you so desire to. Let me find that for you real quick. And but there is so when you're flying, I don't know if any put a one in the chat if you guys have flown internationally or flown for several hours at a time. Because if you have, then you'll understand that. Pause that. Share. Copy link. Here we go. That. I'm trying to multitask here. There you go. Here's the link too for the rest of the video, guys. So some people might say, "Oh, well, this is from YouTube." I don't care if it's from BitChute or Rumble. It doesn't matter. The video information is still the same. It doesn't matter the source of where it comes from, because it's all verifiable. It's all truth. The reality is that we don't live on a spinning ball. We don't live on a globe of on a piece of rock hurling through space at four different directions in infinite darkness and vacuum. We're just not. And then we can still have the same stars for 25,000 years at least, that we know we can go back and accurately date for the last 10,000, 12,000 years star charts, ancient Sumerian, Babylonian star charts, clay tablets that are show you precise alignment of the constellations, what house the zodiac the sun is going to rise, and all that kind of stuff. So 13 hours okay, so Fever Flav, you understand that. Okay, so back to my original point there is anybody who's flown, I've flown from Maine to Ireland, and then Frankfurt, and then Iraq, Kuwait, and more specifically is where I flew to. So if you look on a globe Earth, it's just it's not, there's no the sensations because they talked about gyroscopes in there, the electronical one and then the mechanical one. All the gyroscopes in aircraft are mechanical; they're not digital anymore, because the digital ones are inaccurate. You have to reset them, and you shouldn't have to ever reset one. So also you have two gyroscopes in your head right here, your ears, the liquid in your inner ears. It acts as a gyroscope to let you know where you are, upside down, left, right. So you give that sensation of what is level, because when you move like this, your brain accounts for the tilt in your body, and so you still see things level even though you're at an angle. And when you're, especially when you're, and it keeps you levels. So when you're like doing somersaults and stuff like that, all the gymnasts, all those crazy people who do that crazy stuff, it's amazing how they can land it, because their brain can access where the horizon is. And then when they hit the landing, they're not on their face, they're actually on their feet. It's absolutely amazing. So we were built with two gyroscopes in our ear at the same time. Cats, I think their brain is probably a gyroscope, to be honest, because those fuckers land on their feet every time. Let's see here. The lift off said you should take off as fun as fuck 6 miles to lift off a plane. Yeah, 160, 180, somewhere around there, depending on the actual size, full fuel, passengers, cargo, all that kind of stuff. But the sensations you feel, the only sensations you feel when you're flying is you're gaining altitude, your takeoff, right? And then you get altitude, and then your descent. You don't constantly feel the nose dropping, the plane dropping over 1,000 feet every minute. You don't feel that at all, because we would be able to feel that if you drop that much. That's the gas the oxygen masks are popping out if you have to drop 1,000 feet in a minute. I mean, that's turbulence is what your experience right there. So you're not constantly having to dip the nose down around there. Landing strip, everything in there is all verifiable. There's a lot of different videos out there you can you can watch if you can find them. That's the thing. A lot of them are actually are banned from YouTube and the main places, as you were. So I have an archive of videos that I've found over the years, and I have a source where I can go get these videos anytime I want to as well. So for me, the flat Earth, if we're to believe we live in a matrix, the illusion of choice sort of thing, to step away from the illusion, to step away from the lies and the deceit, and just really find out where we live on. The knowing that the Earth is not a rotating sphere, knowing that we live in a realm, is comforting, because it's one of the keys of the Matrix. It's one of those, okay, I've seen through this lie. Now what else is there? It almost prepares you for the bigger truths that are out there in the ether. I mean, to me, it is. I've had conversations with multiple people about this, and every time I bring up the flight, I'm like, have you flown internationally? Yes. Okay. So what sensations do you feel when you fly? Oh, well, I feel 3 sensations. Well, there you go. There you go. You don't fall. You're not falling to keep your nose up, right? And then helicopters. My brother-in-law is a helicopter pilot, a Kiowa pilot actually, or he was one. I don't know if he's flown in a while, but when he was flying, I sent him a text. I said, "Hey man, do you ever have to account for the spin of the Earth when you're plotting your flight lines? And he's like, no, not at all, never. I said, okay. So realistically, if the Earth is spinning with over an, you can just take off at 100 feet, hover there, put it in autopilot, and the helicopter will stay there for as long as it has fuel, or there's no big winds or whatever. And over an hour, over 2 hour time frame, let's go 5 hours. That the location of where he took off should be to the east. Okay, it should. According to the 24,000 mile circumference radius that we have, and the 14,000 miles equator, we should see that. And we're supposed to be spinning at 1,000 miles, over 1,000 miles, like 1,024 miles an hour. That we would notice that difference. We don't see any of that. And it's not because, the gravity has got the helicopter in lock, and so it gives us the illusion of that. No, gravity is still a theory. Even Einstein said gravity was a theory. It's still a theory of relativity. It's not law. It's just because it's been repeated so many times, repetition, it becomes the truth. And a lot of people fall for that. And I don't know why. I don't know why they, especially big Bible thumpers and all that kind of people who are really into that. Obviously they're not reading their Bible enough, because it says in Genesis 6, it tells you there's over 200 references in the Bible of flat Earth and what it is. So to me, when I came to this realization, I went out, when I first started, I started out trying to debunk it completely, because I thought it was the most ridiculous conspiracy theory you could find. It's not even a conspiracy theory; it's truth. And I was like, okay, I don't want to have any bias. Let's just go try to find some information for this. And so I searched, and I took 4 months of every day looking, searching, and I finally came to the realization that what we live on has been created for us by a creator. So we do have, there is an existence of a creator. Whether we are in the eye of the creator, that's something different, because there is a firmament over. We do live in a snow globe, if you want to call it that. Names. I keep being asked about some guy named Gibbs, Geebs, Gibbs. I'm not sure about that, but Witsit Gets It is another one you can find on Rumble. I don't think you can find him on YouTube. I think he's kicked off of that, but I believe he's also on BitChute. But Rumble is his main station. Witsit Gets It is another guy. He's a really smart guy. He's a flat earther too. But even if you believe the Bible, it's still there. It tells you the Earth is flat. We don't live in a ball. So, but if you it says sphere, it says circle, right? So people assume sphere when they hear circle. No, like when you're rising up above the plane, we live in a circle, because the ice wall is in a circle, just like my map right here. All right, just like my map. See on the outside here behind me, you can see. Let's see if I can do this one here a little bit smaller. Here we go. You can see here. This is the ice wall. Antarctica is the ice wall. There is no such thing as the Antarctica continent. No such thing. All right. Even the great boat race around the world proved that when they went further south away from the North Pole, away from whatever is at the North Pole, the times took longer. And you wouldn't see that on a globe. It would be the same, because everything would be the same dimensions, right? Now, not really, because now there are times when you're closer to the North Pole, your times of travel on the boat are much shorter than they would be as opposed if you were, say, in the southern 50th parallel. But anyways, Eric Dubay, yeah, that's another good one. Globe hides creator F sake. Yeah, fuck's sake. Yeah, it does. Eric Dubay. Yeah, Eric Dubay. He's another good one. He kind of started everything back when YouTube was in its glory days, like 2014, somewhere around there, 2015, before all the big tech got a hold of it and censored the people's creativity and the amount of information that can be sold. The butler who carries a tray for Gibbs. I'm not understanding that. I'm sorry. Here, you know what? Let's do this. I'm gonna copy this, paste this. There you go. There you go. There's a link if anybody wants to come in and have a conversation. And not I'm not saying that I'm gonna go, oh, I got you. I'm not playing I got you points. As if you see me on PTP, I do very well with conversation, as long as we keep it respectful and it's just we're talking about the issue at hand. And I understand this is not this is not an easy concept to grasp, because since we've been indoctrinated in our schools, there's always been a globe in every classroom you go into. It's funny enough, you look on a globe, and the bottom of it, it says not for educational purposes. So, yeah, I know it's when I first realized, it kind of like an icicle through my brain is what it kind of felt like, because it was awakening sense. I'm like, holy crap, we do not live on anything that science says. Science is lying to us. Some people might go, well, what the fuck does the difference make? What does it make a difference if it's flat or round? I still got to pay my bills in the morning. Aren't you being tired of lied to? Don't you want to know the truth? You know, I mean, I'm sick and tired of being lied to and being deceived all the time. I mean, everywhere I look, there's deception. Everywhere I look, there's lies. And it's designed this way. I understand it, but I mean, I don't understand why people accept the lie. I don't understand why people accept being lied to. But you know, everybody's going to come to their terms in their own way eventually. So whether it's in this life or the next, or you know, you get the pearly gates or whatever you all believe, this is one of the big ones to me. This truly is a key to the matrix for me to understanding what we live on and who rules this realm. Okay. Because even in the Bible, it says, if that's what you believe, it says that Samael, that Satan was cast down from the heavens, and so was a third of his angels. So if he was cast down, that means we are separate from God. Doesn't mean that God doesn't exist. It means that He's a creator, but He is separate from us. So then, who rules this realm? If an archangel was cast down, the number one, the most beautiful angel, was cast down to here, then what would be his thing is to deceive and lie about everything that God created. Everything. It's a task. It's a mental exercise that is not easy to get into, because you have to unlearn everything you've ever learned. You have to learn everything to know anything, and that is a difficult process for a lot of people. There's too much pride. Like I saw some people in the chat earlier were talking about pride. Pride is and even in this community, even in the build on this platform, man, pride is something that just kills, just absolutely destroys relationships, destroys a movement. I mean, it's despicable. I see it as a diversionary tactic, but that's me. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it is, because I don't know if you guys have ever, you know, I'm sure you've been on Twitter, but if you've ever reposted or posted something about flat Earth, the trolls come out, man. If you chop into somebody who has a bigger channel than you, and you like their channel, or you like their comment or their GIF or whatever it is, and or you comment on somebody else's comment, or even if you just comment on something and something comes back at you, it is a visceral reaction. There is a level of almost borderline hatred towards somebody if you disagree with them, that you know, like, oh, you're a flirt, you're a flat retard. I was like, well, you're a globe-tard, so you just called me name and called you name. So what? Big deal. Get over it. And you know, and so some people are like, well, no, I know it's this because you know, da, 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 da. Well, okay. And then, like for example, there's a long bridge in Louisiana, and the bridge is, I think, 14 miles long or something like that. It's you would be able to notice the curvature of the Earth. But in Louisiana, even in the wintertime, the humidity is relatively high, and also it is usually warm. So if it's above 60 degrees, you're going to have humidity. And most time in the winter, it's above 60 degrees, 70 degrees, somewhere around there. You know, I've trained in Louisiana. It's miserable place to train. But you're going to see what's called atmospheric distortion. So even on a desert road, if you've seen way in the distance and there's that mirage right there, well, that means the atmosphere is too thick for you to see beyond that point. It happens everywhere on this realm, everywhere. Anytime it's hot, it happens. I mean, you can even we have, it's funny, visibility is 10 miles according to the Weather Channel. At 10 miles, we shouldn't see anything at 10 miles. You know, I've been told so many times, oh, the curve starts at 3 miles. Motherfucker, I've seen 24 miles with my naked eye. So I'm not quite sure what people are believing now these days. Lots of pride. Yeah. Let them hate. That's right. Go take it. No. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's true. The haters, I'm sure they're out there too. I know they're out there, the teasers and whatever. I just do projects, and I do more than them. I work harder than they do, and they can't say anything. I use my creativity to speak for itself, and they can't say anything. And I'm nice. I'm an actual nice guy, believe it or not, despite my demeanor and my beard. I really am a nice guy. I try really hard to be nice. So, when I talk to you guys about this kind of stuff, it's not because I'm trying to be controversial or trying to like, oh, well, this is some kind of, radical conspiracy theory, because it's not a conspiracy theory at all. It's not a conspiracy theory. We live in a flat realm. We live in a giant basin, if you want to call it that, because look at can you fall off the side of a lake? No. Do we live on a disc in space? No. That notion is ridiculous, and it actually insults the intelligence of people who post that kind of shit on Twitter or wherever else on the internet. Even though even though I know it's poking fun, it's still like, come on, you guys can be smarter than that than to say, oh well, everything is circular, and then the disc, the Earth is flat like a pancake. Well, scientifically, the state of Kansas is flatter than a pancake. That's been proven several times. So, and I've driven across Kansas. It takes you 10 hours to drive across Kansas, and that's a flat. The thing is that there is a point in the elevation where it's only an elevation of like maybe I think base elevation in Kansas is around 500 feet above sea level. All right, so we're talking about ground elevation, not so we're not talking like altitude. Okay, the big difference. There comes a point when you're going to Denver, Colorado, to where you get onto the plateau and you can see 90 miles to the Rocky Mountains. You shouldn't be able to see the Rocky Mountains you should be able to just see the tips. You shouldn't be able to see the bases of them. You shouldn't be able to see the individual tree pockets around at 90 miles from the Rockies. You should see maybe half of the mountains, and those at that point they'd be dipping away from you anyways. They'd be bending away. They would be like this, like a mountain, like a mountain. They would be like this, bent away from you in your perspective, where you would see them at an angle bending away, if the Earth was the diameters that we've been told it is. My question is, does it expand because some say beyond the walls it's more? Well, that's a really good question. There is speculation now. Admiral Byrd has said that when on his first expedition to the South Pole, that he found a summer route to an area past the ice wall, and he put eyes on a piece of land that was bigger than the United States than it had apparently had not been touched. It looked like it was pure land. No human interactions, no towns, or nothing like that. But that's really the only thing he says about it. Now, we, as individual citizens, and we don't have these special degrees and these special letters from certain people, certain government and NGOs, saying that we can travel to the scientific portion of the South Pole. Because when you go to these trips out of Australia and out of Chile, South America, you have a set of islands you come across. One of them happened to be the Rothschild Islands off of South America. But then you also get to a peninsula where you ceremonially you can hike for maybe an hour or something like that, and then there's this pole as the ceremonial South Pole. There is a treaty called the Antarctic Treaty, and I think it was signed in 1956 by 12 countries, and now there's 154 countries, something like that have signed this treaty, using Antarctica as first of all as a animal reserve to save the penguins and for scientific studying, which is interesting nonetheless, because no one's ever broken that treaty. That's the only treaty in the entire world that no one's ever broken. And that's civilians are not allowed to travel onto the south of the 60th parallel line unless you have a special permission from your country and dignitaries and all that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a whole list of things you can do. I've seen some video where people have tried to go south of the 60th, but then all of a sudden you see a destroyer or a little cutter or something like that come out of nowhere, out of the horizon, and be on the ship within a matter of minutes. So the entire 60th parallel is watched. Now, the bigger portions of the Pacific Ocean, there's a lot of underground towers. There's a lot of buoys that act as I don't know, my dogs are going nuts about something. They act as like sound markers. They can use echo. They can use like triangulation between the buoys out there to see if anybody has broken, the line of empty ocean, because you're talking about thousands and thousands of miles of open ocean over there. And I don't think that's a lot of resources to put people out there. But, this is the truth. You can't go past the 60th, which that's why some people, why can't you just go there? Like, well, all right. This is a dumb question anyways, because people never thought about it. Yeah. Hold on a second here, people. My dogs are going like nuts as somebody's at the door or something. So I'm going to put some music on for you real quick, and I'll be right back. Hold on, I'll be right back. Oh, this is really unprofessional. I do apologize. Make sure that's there. Okay, good. Okay. All right, folks. I didn't. Oh, I actually gave people. All right, I have more entertainment. It's more entertaining just listening to music than there is actually talking to me. Okay, cool. So, all right, we'll turn the music down. Okay, so, and Men in Black at the door. Yeah, I was hoping not. I didn't know what the hell was going on because they were all of them were up in arms about something, and they have, dogs. If you've had enough dogs long enough, they have different barks, and you know what that is. So, but then I realized, I was like, oh shit, maybe one of my chickens are out, and that's what they're going crazy about. Yep, I had a chicken on the front stoop that pecked at the door. I'm making noise at the door, so I had to pick her up and look around real quick, make sure there weren't any carcasses. So we're fine. No chickens were harmed in the thing. No ducks were harmed. So, whew, okay. So that was all right. I do apologize. I'm here. I'm back. I'm ready to go. Okay, see here. What we got going on? Men in Black. When I flew to Denver a few weeks ago about his sparkling red orb while on our plane and during a descent, I wanted to ask the pilot, but chickened out. Okay, that's okay. Shit, the rain won't stop here today. Honestly, yeah, I know. Yeah, I was dealing with that a week ago or so. Yeah, I've heard of that. Orbs around planes during mid-flight and descent around certain areas. Certain airports have a little more activity than others. Denver International Airport, that doesn't surprise me at all, considering there's all kinds of crazy shit that goes on just with the building of the international airport alone. That's a whole show that we could do. But there's there's also a lot of stuff. The Garden of the Gods, there's a lot of energy down there. There's military bases probably throughout the Rockies. I mean, who knows what kind of stuff is actually out there, but when I hear people who they see things out the plane, I'm like, okay, I've seen something before, but I haven't. I've seen white orbs. I haven't seen red orbs before. I haven't seen those, and what those things are, you got me. I have no idea, but it certainly is an interesting phenomenon watching something else fly and zip around your plane at incredible speeds in different directions. Makes you wonder what it really is. Yes, you're right, Impeach them all. No chickens or ducks were harmed during the making of this video ever. Not until they are nice and fat and ready to be put in the oven. But that's going to be hopefully several years from now, 3 years from now at most. And then if they all survive, and then get a new one. But anyways, back on the flat Earth thing. With what we were watching today, most of you guys, I would assume most people have flown in aircrafts, and you feel three sensations. You feel your acceleration, your takeoff, and then you get altitude, and then you're flying straight. And then you feel the plane physically descend. You feel the turbulence of the aircraft, but you never feel the nose of the craft having to dip down, constantly having to adjust and drop 1,000 feet every minute or so. You just don't feel that at all, because it's not real. It doesn't exist. You get up there, you look around, the horizon rises to your eye level every given time. White orbs disappear. This is one hung around for 3 to 4 minutes. Oh, that's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. I haven't done an alien show, like what we live on, like an alien show, and talk about that kind of stuff for a while. I think we should. Maybe I'll do that next Friday for what do we live on. Maybe we'll talk about aliens. Maybe we'll talk about alien experiences and stuff like that. That'd be a good one to do. Let's see here. Is music too loud? There we go. Turn down just a tad more. Alrighty, so let's see here. What do we got? The video. So the rest of the video is just interviews of pilots. There's one extensive that's like another hour, and then the next 40 minutes or so are just small clippets of people with their cell phones leaving the craft, waiting until everybody else is gone, and then the pilots well, because the pilots and the staff will say goodbye and to you as you leave the craft. And this person was clearly at the end of the line, and they had their phone, and sometimes they just go right up to a pilot and say, hey, can I ask you a question? And boom, they tell you. You find more truth in foreign countries like Mexico. Mexico is notorious for telling the truth about aliens, about UFOs, and things that these pilots see in the skies, and telling you that the Earth is flat. They have no qualms at all. Ooh, just a chicken in black. Let's see here. Hey, some people say birds and robots went keep eyes on us, and it's funny, Lajanya. It's funny you mentioned that. This has been let's see here, probably so going on 3 years now. Yeah, going about 3 because one of my dogs will turn 3 in August. So ever since we had puppies a few years ago, my male healer, when he was outside, I think a hawk flew by, and it was low enough that you could actually see the shadow cast on the ground, and so it freaked him out, and so he got all excited. And then we went to the park with the puppies, and he saw the birds in the sky, and since then he's always been going after the birds. No matter where they are in the dog park, he'll run across the dog park and chase them off. He'll run in the water and chase off the birds too. And it's really funny because we use the joke that birds aren't real, and they're actually the CIA surveillance drones they're just spying on us, checking us out, and he knows that because he can sense that, and so then he chases them off, kind of blowing their cover, if you will. But that's another rabbit hole I went down. I did find some very interesting video footage of mechanical engineers putting together drones that look like birds, that don't flap their wings quite like birds, but they certainly look like birds, and it's very weird. It's very bizarre. So who knows? Maybe in a couple of years, maybe they already do. Maybe all these birds are just biomechanical. Who knows? I mean, honestly, it's a crazy world out there. A lot of stuff we just don't know. So, anyways, back to Flat Earth here. It's 9 o'clock. We've been at this for 2 hours now. Let's see here. No one else is coming in. I don't think my guest is going to come in. It should have been here about half an hour ago. But that's A-OK. That is fine because people have other things to do in life other than speak with me about Flat Earth. Because not many people like talked about this, and a lot of people just see it and go, "Oh, whatever. What does it care? Who matters? What does it matter? Who cares about it?" And the reality is, it does matter. It really does matter. But beyond that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thank you for the donations. Thank you for being here, people. Thank you for the shares. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for all that kind of stuff. Thank you for staying with me through the fiasco with my dogs. I didn't know what the hell was going on there, but I had to figure that out. And I realized the chickens weren't up, and I put the chickens up. And luckily, they put themselves to bed nowadays. But anyways, thank you very much. See here tomorrow is if everything works out well, it'll be on my other channel, the men's locker room. Go give that one a follow. Go do a search and give them a follow real quick. I'll be there with PTP. And we're going to be talking about mental toughness and addictions. The reason why I'm making the men's locker room is because it's for men. It's to keep men accountable, to bring them in to talk about things that maybe they want to talk about, but they're kind of shy to talk about, or if they have advice. We're talking about mental, physical, spiritual, emotional health. Especially emotional health for men. That's a huge one for me because not enough men get that treatment. Okay, because they used to be handled. Men used to be men and like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to talk about anything, and I'm just going to keep it all inside, bottle inside. Well, you keep your emotions and shit like that bottled up inside, you're going to get prostate cancer. Okay, simple as that. So. Not specifically you're going to get it, but pretty close that people will. If you don't let your emotions and you have good positive mental health, it leads you inside. It leads you up like a cancer inside for sure. But we'll have that tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern time, And then Sunday, I'm going to go. I have a 12-hour movie marathon for you guys because we're going to be celebrating Memorial Day for all the soldiers that have fallen. And we're gonna go from the Revolutionary War to the Patriot, then there'll be Saving Private Ryan, Full Metal Jacket, then another one in there. I can't remember what it is, and then ended up with American Sniper. So, Black Hawk Down and American Sniper. I'll be playing those exclusively on Pilled for anybody who's out there in the other realms that I'm broadcasting to. So come on over here, create a profile so you can. I mean, you can watch if I drop the link in Twitter and stuff. You guys can click on it, and then it'll hyperlink you over to my page so you can watch the movie for free. But look for the announcements, look for all that kind of stuff. And Peach Mall, thank you very much for the 277 gold pills. 777. I like that. Into this one, special number today. Appreciate it. So, anyways, I'm going to keep these gold pills here until I think we get a little more, so I can release some more scratches to you guys a little bit, give you a little more extra out there than just a couple shekels. So, a couple shekels. But anyways, thank you for being here for this edition of Flat Earth Friday. Seeing what commercial flight pilots say about our realm, and if it's flat or if it's a globe. And I think it pretty decisively told you guys that you should at least question what we live on, question everything around you. Don't accept the lies. Don't be tolerant to the lies. So it's gonna be a good show. I think I'm probably gonna start like at 10 in the morning because it's a 12-hour stint of shows, because they're all extended versions of the movies. So they're not the theatrical ones, or the after DVD market where it's the director's cut you can get. It's another 20-30 minutes of production on there. So yeah, all that stuff is, I love that, the extended cut versions of it, like the D. Snyder's DC Superman and Batman DC one, where it's like 4 hours long. Justice League, that's what it is. Yeah, Justice League, 4-hour movie. I might play that if I can find a copy of it. So a good copy, a good HD copy of it. So beyond that, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Spending your time here is very, very valuable to me. I do appreciate it, because you can be anywhere else. I'm going to get off here. I'm going to go harass some other people on Foxhole, and you guys be well. Hope to see you guys tomorrow on the men's locker room. So it won't be War in the Garden. It'll just be the men's locker room will be live, and I'll be advertising that as well. So other than that, thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and end what I usually end with here. If I can. Oh, I need to get my hotkeys up and running. I really, really do. I really do. But anyways, that's okay. I'm going to overlay. And then here you go, people. Be well. Have a good day.